Kristaps Porzingis, likely to be out this entire next series. Now, the Celtics have been fine with him out during the regular season. They're 21-4 straight up without Porzingis. I mean, some of those wins against good teams, they beat the Suns, they beat Dallas, they beat New Orleans without Porzingis, but also some of the bottom feeder teams in the NBA. And, you know, postseason basketball, as we've seen, is a little bit different than regular season, a lot more physical. And just, I mean, the competition overall is better. I still think Boston is better than either Orlando or Cleveland, who they'll face next round. But how do you see this shaking out for the Celtics in terms of not playing with Porzingis for likely the entire next series?
I think the most important takeaway here is that Boston has to do whatever they need to do to get Porzingis healthy. So when they really need him, he's available and he's 100% healthy. That's really the key. Like, Boston has to be looking at the long game here. We're talking about Eastern Conference Finals, talking about the NBA championship, because Cleveland and Orlando are not going to have anything for the Boston Celtics, no matter who comes out of that series. And this is why seeding becomes so important. We talk about the regular season games and how, you know, players are sitting and it doesn't matter, but you're Boston. You're sitting in number one. You get to play Cleveland and Orlando, who are going to most likely end up in a 7-game series, and then you're going to have plenty of rest, and they're going to have to come in and they're going to have to play you on the road. I just think it all works out pretty well for Boston. I don't think that either of those teams are going to be any kind of a threat. I don't think either team has the offense to keep up with the Celtics, even without Porzingis. 41 points in the first quarter against the Miami Heat. 41 in the first quarter. They come out and drop 41. Game's already over. It was an 18-point lead after a quarter of play. Everybody knew how that game was going to end. Everybody knew it was, you know, Cancun time for Miami. And Miami probably don't have to go to Cancun. It's nice enough weather there. But you know the deal. Miami season was done. They knew it. Boston moving on. I don't think either Cleveland or Orlando is going to be any threat because they're just not going to have the offense to keep up with this Celtics team.
No, I mean, you saw Celtics last night without Porzingis. I mean, Derek White steps up, right? We've seen Sam Hauser hit a couple threes. Peyton Pritchard, I mean, he plays minimal minutes, but he makes them count. So, like, you still have some players that can, I know they're not the same position. I mean, Pritchard and Porzingis are a little different size-wise, but you still have some bench players and some depth there that Mazzulla can kind of rearrange things and scheme things up a little differently. And the Celtics, if you look at some of the advanced numbers, offensive rating, they actually improved by 0.7 per 100 possessions without Porzingis. Their defensive rating stayed the exact same without him. Boston outscored its opponents by 11.8 more points per 100 without Porzingis. So they've been just fine.
Big news out of Boston, Pat, with the Porzingis injury. I know prior to this series, you had thought that the Knicks were the team in the East to challenge Boston and have a shot at dethroning them and coming out of the East. Let me talk a little bit about like what happened in this series versus Philadelphia, and if anything, has that strengthened your position and then being able to challenge Boston?
Yeah, it has. This has been a dogfight, right? This is not, I think we knew from the start, this is not a 2 versus a 7. The Sixers were 32-8 in the regular season with Joel Embiid. We knew that they're a great team. I was just confident that, like usually, Embiid would run out of gas. The knee was not going to be 100%, and that the role players for the Sixers wouldn't do their job. But that's not saying that, you know, that's just me having that much belief in the Knicks rather than me saying, the Sixers, they're an easy test. Joel Embiid's hurt, nothing like that. They're still a great team, and you know, again, game 2 and game 5, 2 miracles. You call that a wash. Still a 3-2 series lead here, and the Knicks are going on the road. So this could go back to the Garden for game 7, and it's anybody's game. I think they get it done tonight. But, yeah, you know, again, you look at what has happened already in the Milwaukee-Indiana series. Giannis hasn't played yet. I know he's going to try to give it a go tonight, but Dame has already gotten hurt. He's also going to try to give it a go tonight. But what are those guys' health statuses going forward if they were to come from behind and pull off a 3-1 comeback? If it's Knicks versus the Pacers, I like the Knicks against a Pacers team that has very little playoff experience. And then again, for the reasons that I liked the Knicks, and every year it happens in the postseasons, guys get hurt, injuries happen. It's already happened to the Knicks. They went into the postseason without their second best scorer in Julius Randle. Sure, somebody from the Knicks could get hurt. Bojan Bogdanovic already has. He's done for the year. Mitchell Robinson already has. He's playing not at 100%, but you know, you look at what the Celtics have now suffered, and that's Kristaps Porzingis out several games. Now, if he gets to the conference finals and the Celtics get there, you would maybe think he is okay at that point, but you never know what can happen throughout the course of the playoffs. And that's why I hate when, when I said the Knicks can go to the NBA finals and everybody's like, well, they're never going to beat the Celtics. Things happen. Injuries happen. Momentum shifts. Guys get hurt. Guys aren't playing at 100%. So I do think the Knicks can still get to the finals.
I don't hate Minnesota at all. I think that they could win this series because you think back to last year's playoffs, the Nuggets bounced them in round one. It went 5 games. On paper, it doesn't look all that competitive when you talk about, the series only going 5 games, but Minnesota played them tough, and the Nuggets have come out and said that that's the team that gives us the biggest issue. So I think that this Timberwolves team can certainly get it done. More confidence going in this year. They played the Nuggets really well during the regular season, and you have Jaden McDaniels, who's back. He was on the roster last year, but if you remember, he punched a chair, punched the wall in the play-in game, and had a broken hand for that series, so he wasn't on the floor. He didn't have Naz Reid. You're right. Defensively, they can stop the Nuggets. And I say stop. No one's going to stop Nikola Jokic, but slow him down with Rudy Gobert being the rim protector. You can put McDaniels, even Anthony Edwards, for as good as he is on offense, he's really good on defense too. Like, he's a solid defensive player. He's not a Damian Lillard who is all offense, no defense. Like, Ant can defend. And then I don't know who you're going to have if you're Denver. Who are you going to have guard Anthony Davis? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope? Maybe. Do you put Aaron Gordon on him? Maybe. But then who guards Cat? Like, there's mismatches that the Wolves, I think, can exploit. So in terms of who wins the series, I think there's value in Minnesota at plus 170. I think you could bet Minnesota, plus 1.5 games, minus 135. I mean, it's not, the value isn't great there, but I still think that that's a decent bet. Would you
What's
consider
Minnesota minus 1.5 or like Minnesota and 6? Like, I would be interested in Minnesota at 6, right? Because they're going to get 3, 4, and 6 at home, right?
Yes. Minnesota minus 1.5 is plus 260, and Minnesota in 6 is
probably similar,
plus 500.
Right? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
I like Minnesota in 6 plus 500. I really do. I think if they steal one in Denver, which do we think is that crazy? Like, they steal game 1 or 2 in Denver. Like, Ant-Man goes nuts. They have the size. They have Cat. They have Gobert. They have, they give them a hard time. Then it goes back to Minnesota. They win 2 games there, and then all of a sudden at home, you go back to Denver and it's on. Denver steals game 5. They close it out in game 6. We all get paid.
It's easy as that, right?
Just like that.
You make that sound very easy. We win here, we go back here, we close it out at home game 6, right? Nothing to do.
That's the blueprint. You don't have to worry about the spread. We already got the answer to the test.